Hello, everybody. We are live for another Unapologetically Bold. I'm not sorry for. And I am blessed today to have Misty on here with us. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Super excited.
Awesome. So, as always, we want to continue to ask you to like, subscribe, and share before we get into the heart of the podcast and episode, as our goal is to bring some positivity to your newsfeed, but also some reality to your newsfeed. Because a lot of the times we say that we see people that are not humans, where at home versus work, like they have like this battling against each other. But guess what? We are. And we need to quit apologizing for things that make us who we are. And I think this is an amazing discussion that kind of gets in with it. So, Misty, before we get into what you're not sorry for, tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Misty Marino and I'm 42 years old. And I often say my age because it's relevant to my testimony. And I'm married and we've been married for 15 years and we have a 13-year-old boy. And my husband and I actually just retired from the Air Force. We both retired from the Air Force on 1 September, and we both served 20 years. My husband served 20 years exactly, and I served 20 years and 5 months. And we currently reside in South Carolina, and we've both started our new jobs. My husband is blessed that he gets to be a stay-at-home husband and father. And I work at a tire manufacturing plant here in Sumter, South Carolina as a human resources business partner. And my son is starting his 7th grade year at a new private school. And we're just excited for this next stage of our lives. We call it our what's next after the military.
I love it. And thank you, first off, for your service. That in itself is such a big deal. But with that, there's been a lot of changes, especially in the past week.
Absolutely.
So with that, it flows into what you're not sorry for. So let's just get into it. Misty, what are you not apologizing for anymore?
I am not sorry for making my career a part of my life and not my life. So I joined the military when I was 21 years old. And almost immediately when I joined, I experienced rapid success. So I always won awards and was promoted ahead of my peers and was nominated and selected for special projects and opportunities. And that really continued for about 13 years. I was known as the go-to person, and I really, really liked that reputation. And leaders relied on me to get the job done. They didn't care about how I got it done. They just knew that I was going to get it done. So I was very well liked from the top, and I thrived on that. But unfortunately, as you progress in your career, something gives. And I took the service before self core value of the Air Force 100% literal. And I put my career first, and I put myself last, and I put my family on the back burner. And unfortunately, for a very long time, my husband and my son received sloppy seconds from me. But I didn't really, I hate to say it, but it didn't really matter to me because I was doing so well in my career and I was getting promoted. And with that came raises and money. And so I felt like I was doing my part, to help our family. And throughout 13 years of my career, I just kind of went on that pattern and was always the go-to person. And my family definitely suffered, but I didn't listen loud enough. And I've received the best performance evals that anyone could get in the Air Force, and I was very used to that. But then one day, I worked for a commander, a new boss, and I always say that I met my match because she wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid that people drank for about 13 years. And she definitely honored that I would get things done, but she didn't like how I got it done. And she gave me several chances and formally counseled me and informally counseled me about just being a good person. And she wanted me to get the job done, but be a pretty good human being while I did it too. But I never really followed suit because I just felt like it didn't matter. I'm a woman in uniform. I'm going to get the job done. If it's getting done, you shouldn't worry about how it's getting done. And so she said, okay, if you're not going to listen, then I'm going to go ahead and make you listen. And she did just that. So at 13 years in, I was a master sergeant in the Air Force, which pretty above average. Usually people make it in about 15 years, make that rank. she gave me my first performance eval that was not best of the best. In fact, it was a performance eval that was almost unheard of in the Air Force at that time. And she sat me down and said that there is no doubt that you could run circles around every single one of your peers, but you are a pretty crappy human being. And I need you to be a good human being while also being a good airman. And she said those two things shouldn't be separate. And so immediately that rocked my world.
Mm-hmm.
I was no longer getting this, satisfaction from work. In fact, I was no longer getting awards, not getting promoted. I wasn't nominated or selected for special projects and opportunities. And I was actually seen as a liability. So once that eval went public, and like I said, it was pretty unheard of to get an eval like that, all of a sudden my reputation changed and I felt like I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I, if I were to be honest, I actually really didn't, because I had treated my family with such disrespect that, when I needed them the most, they were like, hey, we needed you the most for the last 13 years. So I hit a pretty low point. And then I had a moment, I call it my WTF moment, where I was kind of sitting in my car and I was like, dude, you're contemplating, suicide at the time. I was so upset over a performance eval of work. So I kind of had the common sense to like snap out of it. And that moment I did just that. I called a mental health counselor and said, I'm having these feelings. They're not normal and I need to get help. And 7 years later, I have made my career a part of my life and not my life. And my husband and I are the strongest that we've ever been. And I have a great relationship with my son. And it was all because I, definitely dedicated myself to some counseling. And he taught me to do things. And those 3 things have led me to where I'm at right now, just making my career a part of my life and not my life.
There's so much beauty in that. Oh, there's so many things I want to pull out. The first thing that comes to my mind, which I think is also interesting, is that this week is actually Suicide Awareness Week. Yep. And that so many people see people that thrive and try and go above and beyond and not know their story. You are speaking about things that people need to hear about, and how you noticed that it wasn't normal and it wasn't right. Oh. And I talk about my counselor. She is a God-given gift and I love her.
Aren't they? Oh, they definitely are.
Everybody should.
Yes.
But that's me. Like, I haven't been at that low point too, but they're like, what? You're so happy. And that's what people, they look at you, or the little bit that I know about you, like, you're always happy. You're always glowing, but there's always that part that people don't see, that side. So one, I want to commend you on speaking out and speaking up. And then 2, I told you before we went on that you're one of the most emotionally intelligent people that I am getting to know more. Like, I'm very good at reading people, and you're emotionally intelligent. And this story even tells me more why, because not many people will talk about their career path and say, hey, like, I met my match. And in essence, it was something that you needed,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, I will, totally transparent. I spent a lot of time hating her. And I even prayed to God and told God, like, I'm sorry, but I know I should forgive her, but I don't. I actually thought that she was wrong for what she did. But I say her name all the time. At the time she was Lieutenant Colonel Marcia Aleem, but she's retired now. Marcia Aleem is by far the one person in my life, ahead of anyone, I mean, obviously except Jesus, but the one person ahead of my life that had the bold leadership and the audacity, and I'm so glad she did, to stop me in my tracks and say, hey, I need you to be a good human. Like, I don't care if you're a good airman. I need you to be a good human being. And because she did that, she helped me put my family first, put myself first, and, just kind of change everything up, do everything different. And still to this day, I thank her all the time. We went a long time without talking, but I text message her every now and then and just kind of give her my annual thank you for, knocking the ego out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Every marriage anniversary, I say a little prayer for her. And I think she knows how important she is in my life, but I think the people around me are surprised that she's that important because of the strife that, I said that she caused, but essentially it was me, because she was not wrong, and everything that she was saying, she was not wrong. But yeah, I owe her, essentially I owe her my life, right?
I love that. And I think that's the point that I want to go on here too, is that the leadership aspect of it.
Yeah.
As a leader, stopping people, and because that's one thing I have such a frustration with, is so many times people are like, it's work versus life instead of bringing it together.
Yep.
And how being a true leader should impact both. So let's dive into that for a minute. What are some things that you have learned in this journey about embracing, I call it the synergy between the both of work and life, and how they are needed instead of get the job done any way possible?
Yeah. So I give all the credit to my counselor, but these 3 things that he taught me to do. So the first thing was define my purpose and my definition of success. So he told me, just kind of like what you just said, work and life have to be harmonized. So he calls it harmony and not necessarily work-life balance, right? But they do need to go together because you're at work probably more than you're at home. So I defined my purpose and I defined my definition of success. So once I did those 2 things, so my purpose is just to develop better human beings with my actions. And my definition of success has everything to do with how I feel, no matter what is going on around me. So I call it kind of emotional success. And I know I'm going to curse just because it matters, but not bad. But like essentially what he said was, your definition of success is not being shitty in the shitstorm. And right. And so I thought, I have carried that with me for the last 7 years, because you see like it hit the fan, right? And you see people unravel. But my definition of success is not to unravel, and I've watched it in my current company where, I had in my department where my department hasn't unraveled because of COVID, but then I look at some other, businesses around me that have unraveled. So the first thing he did was tell me to define my purpose and define my definition of success, because if I do those 2 things, then no matter where I am and no matter what I'm doing, I can still develop better people and I can still be emotionally sane, right? And then the second thing was, I actually got a life, if that makes sense. So my life revolved around work and I loved working. So I needed to get a life that I wanted to go home to. And not, it sounds terrible that my husband and my son weren't enough, but let's just be honest, right? It's not always enough. So for me, I needed to have my own hobbies and my own things that I like to do. So I love reading. I took up reading. I also love to write. And I did a lot of like personal assistant work for people, where I wrote a lot of their copy for Facebook and Instagram and blogs and stuff. So I got a life. And then the third thing that I did in order to help me make my career a part of my life and not my life was, in the Air Force, we always talk about, you have your Air Force family. Well, that's all good, but your Air Force family thinks alike. They feel the same and they're all under the same pressure. So when you go to them for opinions and perspectives, they kind of all have the same opinions and perspectives. So I developed a different family. I had a gym family. I had a church family. I had a community family. So doing those 3 things really helped me bridge the gap between work and family, and learn and balance life and family, or make them harmonize each other.
Oh, there's so many things I love on that one too. So first, I love how you point about your purpose, and what we call it is finding your values, or basically making lens or filters that you can choose to do things. It makes life easier in essence. And then to get a life. I'm a workaholic. My father's a workaholic. My mother, she has always put her life into us, my brothers and myself, but she's still a workaholic. And so watching that my whole life, it has been difficult for me, especially owning my own business, to step out, and put some of these barriers and not trying to overwork and make sure that I'm abandoning my family at times. So I love that you talk about that, because it is so true. And I'm blessed to get to talk to executives. And that's the one thing that I always say, is that at the end of the day, you don't talk about the emails that you sent. You talk about the memories you made, and they're typically with your family or your loved ones. And you can talk about your successes, but that success comes with people. And I love that what you had talked about even earlier is the part of, you realize that you weren't being the best human that you could be. And now it's your purpose, and how that tragedy has turned into a triumph. And so, like, your mess has turned into a message. All that has just been amazing. So I absolutely adore you, and I adore your honesty for that. So for people that are hearing this and they're like, whoa, that sounds like me. I'm slightly getting a pause right now, and I don't know what to do in life. What would you tell them? What advice would you invite them to possibly grasp onto, to bring some self-awareness of who they are at this moment, to see if it's where they actually want to be?
Oh, that's a loaded question. It's such a good question. So every Monday, I do this religiously. I've done it for a while. Again, I learned it from my counselor, but I always ask myself, is it working? Is what you're currently doing working? And it could be, is eating 5 packs of M&Ms working for you? I did that yesterday. It's not working, but, or, is staying to work at 8 p.m. working for you? Is it benefiting your whole life? Is, planning these outrageous get-togethers with your family, is that working for you, where you're stressed out or you're going broke or whatever? So I always ask myself, is it working? And then if you say no, then you have to say, how will I change? How will I change? And so I was ready at the point where I was sitting in my car contemplating suicide to change. And I contribute that to being resilient, because the Air Force teaches you to be resilient. And I had to be for 13 years in the military. So I will say that I probably had a leg up, because I had so much education on kind of what to identify, I'm going down the wrong path, I need some help. So I would say, start with, is it working? Yes or no? And if you are not happy with your life, but you're probably going to have to define what your definition of success is. My definition of success no longer deals with the awards that I win, my promotion, or the money, like we were just talking about my job offer. And that doesn't define success for me. So what defines success for me is feeling good when I have to stay till 8 p.m. because I'm HR, right? And HR always has to stay, or whatever it is. But you have to kind of ask yourself, is it working? And if it's not, then what are you going to do about it? And I also want to say, if it's okay, Emily, but there's 2 hard facts that come with this. So making your career a part of your life and not your life is not easy. And so the 2 biggest facts, one, and this is, people really need, I call it like a come to Jesus meeting, right? What you're doing is not normal. So people are not going to receive it well. And you have to realize that. So most people who have work-life balance or work-life harmony, or whatever you want to call it, are labeled lazy, not dedicated, and not all in, right? Mm-hmm. You're nodding because I'm sure that you hear this from the executives. People who come in early, people who come in on time, leave on time, maybe not go to every company picnic or whatever, they're labeled not all in. And unfortunately, that's a reputation that could follow you, right? So the first hard truth is that what you're doing is not normal. People are not balanced. Most people are not balanced. So you're going to have to realize that it may not be well received. And then the second hard fact is, if you want to keep this level of balance, you may not progress, in the company. People may not want to promote you. And so you have to kind of get really satisfied with where you're currently at. My coworker and I have this conversation all the time, because our next steps, in the company would be maybe eventually to be an HR manager or whatever. And we both kind of say to ourselves, like, is that the life that we want? Do we want that? And so for people who are in this kind of like middle of the roads trying to figure out, I know something needs to change, I would ask yourself, like, is it working? And then kind of set a plan, but know that it may not be well received, and you may not go as far as maybe you think you want to go, but that kind of starts with defining your definition of success. Mm-hmm. I tell my husband all the time, if I don't make another dollar in this current job and I don't go any further, I am 100% okay. I took my uniform off for a reason, and that reason is to be able to be home by 6 p.m. every night to read with my son. So we read every night together at 6. And that is my reason. So if I stay a human resources business partner for the next 20 something years, as long as I get to be home with my son and read, I'm good with that.
I love that. And I think that's another thing that leaders should note on too, that you need to create environments where this is normal. It's a slow shift. That's a part of our model at WorkSpeed, is to be that it is the normal, because if we're going to preach it, we actually have to live by it. And that makes me think of one of our teammates. She was overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed. And I told her to take off 2 weeks. I'm like, just go take your time off. Because here's the thing. If you have people working in stressed out environments, you're paying them to do nothing. Because
it's so true.
Stress shuts off your learning centers of your brain. You cannot be innovative. You cannot grow. You cannot get to the potential and the level that you want to be at because you're stressed. So you're literally, as leaders, you're paid, if you care about money, the ROI on it is no really great return on investment on it. So absolutely. Let them have breathing room. Let them have a break, and understand that this time may be very traumatic for some. Check on your people. Write them handwritten cards. There's so many things that you can do as a leader to make this a new normal, which is a goal of mine. And mission is that living a wise life and creating wise work that people can progress because they care about people.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that I love that you have noted and started from the beginning, is that it's all about being a better human. And in that process, how much it has helped, because you're in the HR world. HR is all about human to human interaction.
Yeah. I wanted to share, no disrespect to the Air Force and no disrespect to any of my leaders. It's, you accept a certain matter of dedication to the military once you progress in rank. And it's like you literally swear to defend the Constitution of the United States, and you're saying that you're okay with dying for your country. So obviously there's a level of dedication there that is necessary. But I took my uniform off for a reason, in order to have a choice. And where I currently work, there is so much, what's the word? Just so many people advocating for work-life balance. So my coworker, we had yesterday off, and on like Thursday or Friday last week, I was like, hey, is anyone coming in, or are you guys going to work from home for the holiday? Because I'm just not used to having Labor Day off, I guess, or maybe I'd have it off, but I'd work from home. And she's like, no, you're not coming in. No one's working from home. And it's like she gathered everybody to make sure. She's pretty senior, like there. So she gathered everyone to make sure, like, I'm going on the boat. Everyone's okay. No one's coming in, right? So there's people around me all the time advocating work-life balance. And then a great thing that my boss did the other day, and I respected him so much when he did this, we missed each other all day. We needed to talk, to one another for something, but we missed each other all day. So I left, and I was just sitting down. I got home and I was just sitting down to eat dinner with my family, and he calls. And I was like, of course he would call right now, right? No disrespect to him, but it always happens that way. So I picked up the phone. He said, hey, Misty, are you home? I said, yes, sir, I'm home. And he said, okay, talk to you tomorrow. Have a good day. Hangs up. And I was like, what the heck just happened? And I just had so much respect for him. And then my husband was right beside me and he was like, wow. I was like, yeah, I don't even know what to do right now. And then we spent all dinner talking about it, but still, so I'm very, very blessed where I'm at. I mean, we have seasons obviously in our career where, work-life balance doesn't happen, but I have people around me all day. My coworkers are absolutely amazing, all day advocating work-life balance. And so they model what they expect and I get to see it. And it's such an example. And he's the HR manager. He's the, he's certainly probably not home eating dinner at 5:30, but he's making sure his team is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty bold leader right there.
I love that. And that's true. And that's the thing that I love is this shift that is happening. I call it a shift towards humanity, and that people are starting to to care about humans and understand how we're designed and that we need this collaboration. But we also need a connection with our families, but also with our work, and that we do not have to be a versus, that we can actually have both. So,
well, I was going to say real quick, like people will say, and I hear it all the time, oh, the world is going soft. We're going soft. Nope, not going soft. We're just getting back to the golden rule, right? We're not going soft. We're getting back to the golden rule. And people are not used to treating people with the same level of respect that they want to be treated with, that we think we're going soft.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's a beautiful point, because now, and it's that shift from profits to people, and again, what you're saying, I don't think it's a soft. I think it is actually boldness. If you want to actually being bold to say, hey, we need to be better and we can be better. And it actually will help our margins in the long run. So final question for you.
Okay.
Anybody apologizing, you hear them say, I am sorry for making my career my life. What would you say to them? What would you say, or for people that are saying that they're not sorry for it? How would you say to somebody that keeps apologizing for focusing so much on their career? How would you advise them for next steps on how to get to almost a freedom and a peace?
Yeah, first I would probably ask, like, are you happy? Is it working? Because there are some people that, you do you. If that's what makes you happy, there's people that choose intentionally not to get married and not have kids because they love to work. Hey, if that's you, you do you. If you're truly happy, then you do you. But if you're not happy, you're going to have to redefine your definition of success. And then you'll have to get a life. Get something that you look forward to when you get home. Like, I can't wait to get home and watch like the next Netflix show. When I say get a life, I'm not asking you to like go paddleboarding every weekend. Like, I nap and snack on Saturdays. I call them my nap and snack days. And I nap, I snack, I watch Netflix. Like, that's getting a life. And then lastly, get a family outside of your job. Like, yeah, you have the people that you can turn to in your job, but get a work family. I mean, a gym family or a church family or someone else that can give you some different opinions and perspectives. Because if you're asking the people that all think alike, you're probably not going to get, what you need. So yeah, I will say it's simple to do, but it's not easy to do, to make your career part of your life and not your life, and it's not well received. So you're going to have to kind of figure out what you're okay with. And I'm okay with never making another dollar again, more than what I make now, and never progressing, because, your family is forever. Your job's not. And I almost lost my family. I felt that, we were almost a divorced couple that shared custody. Every single morning I wake up and thank God that is not my life. And that's not a part of my son's story, because I got my crap together and made my career a part of my life and not my life.
That is so amazing. I know the people watching this and listening to this on podcast are going to take so much from it, because it's something that, one, I do not think that is talked about a lot, but two, something that's real and needed. And that is why I'm so blessed that you came on today and spoke with us. Thank you all that watched, and I hope you all have an amazing and blessed day. Thank you.
Take care.